Heartwarming discovery, arrogant billionaire's life-transforming encounter with two abandoned twins. Jack Mitchell was everything society warned against. At 45, he had made a fortune through ruthless business tactics, ruling his affluent suburban neighborhood with an iron fist. His lavish lifestyle shone bright, blinding him to the simple values of hard work and family that had once defined his youth. Lost dreams buried in the glimmer of wealth he had chased obsessively. But his life was unexpectedly jolted into chaos when an unexpected call rattled him. Two abandoned twins, Tommy and Timmy, were discovered inside a dilapidated car in an overgrown lot. A court order mandated him to mentor these boys, which he dreaded more than facing his high-powered adversaries. Reluctantly, Jack stepped into the park where the twins were found, the aroma of barbecue swirling in the air and laughter bubbling around him, a stark contrast to the twins' grim existence. It tore at him. His heart was like stone, but the sight of Tommy and Timmy, barely 8 yet brimming with relentless spirit, began to chip away at his cold armor. They shared tales of making the best out of their bleak situation, lifting each other's spirits with dreams of owning a cozy home, a place where they could play without fear. Jack's chest tightened as fleeting memories of family warmth flooded back, memories he had long buried. As he spent more time with the twins, however, disdain from his peers hung heavy in the air. Country club meetings morphed into battlegrounds, as Jack's affluent neighbors scorned him for stepping into the muck of lower socioeconomic circles. The whispers stung like a swarm of angry bees, bringing the riffraff into our community. Jack felt isolated, all the while wrestling with the growing unease in his heart. Was this relentless chase for wealth worth sacrificing his humanity, his relationships? In a moment of vulnerability that surprised even him, Jack reached out to his estranged sister, Karen. Their conversation spiraled into a fierce argument. She accused him of being selfish, disconnected from the person she knew. Each harsh word dug in deeper, forcing him to acknowledge the authentic connections he had sacrificed. The argument ended, but not before leaving a haunting sense of unfinished business hanging in the air. It was Tommy and Timmy's indomitable spirit that ignited a fire in Jack. Inspired, he decided to transform the community center, eager to create a sanctuary for not just the twins but other children like them. This was the moment of clarity he had been searching for. But his elite neighborhood erupted in fury, egging him on to abandon his plans. Their fears of disrupted privilege suffocated him. Anger and judgment, once distant, pressed in like waves ready to crash over him. As Jack prepared to present his bold initiative, a revelation washed over him. True wealth wasn't bound to bank accounts but to the love shared in hearts and homes. Could he defy the family history that shackled him? Would he summon the courage to embrace the voiceless and the lonely? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack stood at the precipice of change, ready to face the anger of an elite society that felt threatened by compassion. His chest pounded with uncertainty as he questioned his purpose. What happens when privilege collides with purpose? Would he transform to redefine success? The clock ticked dangerously on the last chance he had to choose love over profit. Could he muster the strength to not just dream, but act? Jack stood in front of the community center, glancing at the dilapidated building that had been neglected for years, much like the lives of the twins he now held dear. His mind raced with thoughts of the upcoming meeting. The echo of laughter from children playing nearby tugged at his heartstrings, reminding him of their dreams for a brighter future. What if he could help turn those dreams into reality? As he walked through the worn-out entrance, he made a mental note of everything that needed to change. The warped doors, faded walls, and broken playground equipment screamed for attention. He could easily visualize a vibrant space, colorful murals, laughter filling the air, happy faces lighting up with possibilities. But with each step, the weight of potential disapproval from his peers pressed down on him. He took a deep breath and welcomed the twins, who rushed in, their faces glowing with excitement. "Look, Mr. Mitchell. We found some old toys," Tommy exclaimed, holding a frayed baseball glove. Timmy waved a half-deflated soccer ball as if it were a trophy. "Those are great," Jack replied, forcing a smile. "We'll make sure this place feels like home for you two and a lot of other kids." He knew that enthusiasm couldn't hide the reality of what he faced. It wouldn't be easy to convince the community to back his vision. During that week, Jack spent hours drawing up plans. His heart raced with every word he penned, detailing the center's transformation. He visualized workshops, tutoring sessions, and creative arts programs, all centered around helping children like Tommy and Timmy thrive. Yet, each time he'd think about sharing his vision, that familiar wave of doubt crept in. What would his friends at the country club say? That Friday, in the heart of the noisy club, Jack stood before a crowd of familiar faces, anxiously clenching his notes. He felt like a gladiator entering the arena. With each breath he took, he could feel the eyes of his affluent peers narrowing in suspicion, some even leaning back, arms crossed. Would they dismiss him? "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, fighting against the knot tightening in his throat. "I want to talk about the community center. I plan to revitalize it, creating a safe space for children who need it." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jack could almost see the gears turning in their heads, calculating the potential fallout if he succeeded. "Why invest in those kids?" One voice sneered from the back. "It's not our problem. This is just charity." The words hit him like a fist. Anger boiled in his chest, but he would not back down. "I understand your concerns," he replied, forcing calm into his voice. "But I believe we have a responsibility to support our community. This isn't charity, it's an investment in the future." Silence fell, thick like fog. Across the room, Jack glimpsed Karen. She stood there, disappointment etched on her face, but with a flicker of hope in her eyes. Perhaps she'd always known he had it in him. "And what if I told you," Jack continued, "that by investing in these kids, we could make our community richer not just in wealth, but in integrity, kindness, and connection? We can change lives." His voice rose as he poured out his heart, fervent dreams spilling into the room, and as he spoke, he caught a glimpse of Tommy and Timmy's smiling faces in his mind. Just as he felt the tide beginning to shift, a cold voice sliced through the warmth he was cultivating. "But what about the reputation of our neighborhood? We cannot let it be tainted." Jack's stomach dropped. Would he crumble under this pressure, or would he stand his ground? The challenging words sparked a wildfire of emotion within him. "Isn't it time we redefine what it means to belong?" Jack challenged, his voice stronger now. "It's time to embrace change and show real support for those who need it most." With steely resolve, he paused and searched the room for a flicker of understanding, a sign that he might be heard, that he was not alone in this fight. As he moved to conclude, a hand shot up at the back of the room. It was a young woman he barely recognized, but something in her expression ignited curiosity and concern. She met his gaze and nodded. Was she about to support him, or would she thrust him deeper into the shadows of doubt? "Are you saying we should all get involved?" she asked, her voice steady but uncertain. The room became a battlefield of tension and hope, each heartbeat echoing louder as Jack felt the moment hanging in the balance. Would this be the turning point he so desperately yearned for, or was it just another step toward isolation? Jack's future depended on the answer, and as the moment stretched on, he could feel the weight of change hovering above him, ready to break. Would he step forward into the light, or retreat back to the comforts of his old life? Jack's heart raced as he locked eyes with the young woman. The rest of the crowd faded away, and in that moment, it was just the two of them. A small fire stirred in his chest. She wasn't just asking a question, she was inviting change, an opening he hadn't dared to hope for. "Yes," Jack replied, his voice steady, filled with a newfound determination. "All of us should get involved. Together, We can make a difference no matter who we are or where we come from. He could see others shifting in their seats, curiosity edging out their skepticism. The murmurs grew, some sounded uncertain but intrigued, others still held on to their disdain. But the seed of possibility was planted. "What's in it for us?" echoed the sneering voice from before. Jack recognized the speaker, an old college rival, always quick to question anything outside the norm. "Imagine the smiles on those kids' faces," Jack countered, letting his passion surface. "Imagine being part of something bigger. Our families are growing, investing in this community can enrich our lives, not diminish them. We shouldn't fear empathy, we should embrace it." As he spoke, Jack noticed Karen nodding along, her face softening in the glow of his words. Her approval beamed across the room, almost like a beacon sparking others to reconsider their stances. The young woman who had first spoken up raised her hand again. "What kinds of programs are we talking about?" Her inquiry transformed the mood like sun breaking through clouds. Encouragement flowed. "Is it just games and toys?" "No," Jack interjected, inspired now by the momentum. "It's about life skills, creativity, and education. It could be a place for art, music, and mentorship. Imagine giving kids the tools they need to thrive beyond their circumstances." Laughter and chatter erupted as ideas bounced around after-school tutoring programs, art classes, community gardening. For the first time, Jack could see moments of hope in the eyes of his peers, like flickers of light in a dim room. "All right then," the woman said with a newfound confidence, "but this requires commitment from everyone. We can't just throw money at it and walk away. We have to show up." "Yes." Jack nodded, driven by her sincerity. "We can create fundraising events, partner with local businesses, even recruit volunteers. This won't just be a handout, it will be our community, united." As the crowd began chatting amongst themselves, the smattering of applause broke out sporadically, a sign of wavering hearts now open to the possibility of change. Jack took a breath, feeling lighter, as if the weight of uncertainty had started to lift. Still, the shadow of doubt lingered. Would this spark ignite a lasting flame, or would it wither away in the face of real commitment? Jack needed to be sure that they would follow through, to not just talk about change but act on it. Suddenly, a voice broke through his thoughts. "What are we waiting for? Let's set a date for a community meeting to really discuss this." An older man from the back stood up, enthusiasm in his tone, and the room erupted into agreement. Jack's heart thrummed with hope. This was the beginning. But just as he felt the high of possibility, he noticed the lingering expressions on some faces, the doubt still there, the hesitation palpable. Perhaps not everyone was ready to embrace change, some might still prefer the status quo. "Bring your ideas and enthusiasm," Jack called out as the energy swirled around him. "Let us influence a change that puts these kids first." The overwhelming sound of agreement began to rise, and Jack felt the fire of his vision growing brighter. Yet, beneath the excitement, he felt that familiar apprehension. As their plans began to solidify, Jack realized he had eyes watching him, the weight of expectation growing heavier. Would he be able to sustain the momentum, to lead them into something that truly mattered? And more importantly, could he convince those still uncertain to stand beside him? The whispers of doubt tinged the air, leaving Jack aching for affirmation. As the crowd took shape around him, he knew that tomorrow would bring the most important conversation yet. Would his dreams stand strong, or would he face the bitter disappointment of defeat? The morning sunlight spilled through the windows, casting a warm glow over the community center. Jack arrived early, his heart pounding in rhythm with the buzz of possibilities from the previous night. He set up the chairs in a circle, imagining the vibrant discussions that could unfold here. He felt an electric excitement mingled with the weight of responsibility. As people began to filter in, a mix of familiar faces and newcomers, Jack did his best to greet them with a smile. Karen came in last, carrying a stack of papers. She had organized notes based on their last meeting. "You're looking fired up," she said, playfully nudging him as she placed the papers on the table. "I hope it shows." "I just want to keep this momentum going," Jack replied, grateful for her support. They shared a quiet reassurance in knowing they were in it together. The room started to fill, and chatter grew louder. Jack glanced around, noticing the mixture of hesitance and eagerness. He cleared his throat, calling everyone's attention. "Thank you for coming. Today is about making real plans and commitments, so let us start with ideas." As members pitched their suggestions, excitement bloomed. Someone mentioned workshops to teach kids life skills, another proposed a mentorship program. Jack leaned in, his heart swelling as the community began to unite, ideas flowing like a river cutting through the rocks. But then, like a gust of cold wind, the doubt crept back in as he spotted that familiar sneering rival from college. "And, Jack," he interjected with a scoff, "how do you plan to ensure this isn't just a glorified daycare?" Jack's breath hitched for a moment. The room fell silent, all eyes on him now. "This isn't just about supervision," he began, gathering his thoughts. "It's about empowerment. If we can guide these children, give them hope and skills, we'll be investing in our future. Isn't that worth the risk?" Just as Jack felt the tide turning again, the rival smirked, "And what if it fails? You'll have wasted not just your time but everyone else's." Frustration bubbled beneath the surface, but he took a deep breath. "What if we succeed? What if one child's life changes because of what we do here? Isn't that worth pursuing?" The room remained quiet, but Jack sensed a shift. Some nodded, others whispered in encouragement. Karen squeezed his hand reassuringly, and he forged ahead. "Let us not focus on possible failures," he said firmly, "let's focus on the plan. We need to establish a clear vision and actionable steps. I propose we break into smaller groups. Each group can tackle different areas like fundraising, outreach, and program development. We'll check back in an hour to share our progress. What if we take it a step further?" Karen suggested. "What if we reach out beyond these walls? Let us organize an event in the neighborhood to get more people involved." A ripple of enthusiasm spread through the room, and Jack felt a rush of optimism again. They started breaking into groups, sound overwhelming but exciting hope bubbling up like champagne. As Jack moved between circles, he listened to laughs, ideas, and passion pour out. He felt grateful, high on the energy they all shared. And yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that not everyone had fully committed. Some remained hesitant, tails tucked, as if waiting for someone else to take the lead. In the midst of the fervor, his eyes found the rival again. "You know, I might have doubts, but seeing this energy, it's hard not to get caught up in it," he murmured, shrugging, attempting nonchalance even as he peered closer at Jack. Jack's heart raced again. Change was possible, but could he really unify this group, especially those who stood on the sidelines ready to find a reason to retreat? Maybe it's not just about convincing them, Jack thought, feeling the burden shift. He felt a flicker of determination ignite again, reminding him why he was here. "It will be hard, but we're worth it," he kept telling himself. As they wrapped up the first round of discussions, Jack could see the excitement reflected in some faces. But also uncertainty in others, especially from a few who had remained quiet. Would they keep that spark moving forward? Would he? A secondary voice broke through moments later, urgent and loud. "And what if we fail? What if no one shows up to the event next month?" Questions hung heavy in the air like a storm cloud threatening to burst. Jack's heart raced again with the weight of the moment. Would they find the courage to move forward against the fear of failure? His gaze swept across the room, searching for answers, fighting against the swell of doubt. "We tackle it together, right?" he urged, hoping his plea would resonate. But as he looked around, he noticed the lingering tension, uncertainty keeping some stuck in their chairs, eyes downcast. Would they rise to the occasion, or would they withdraw? The hour hung heavy with questions, and in that moment, he realized that his biggest challenge was yet to come. How far would they go to keep this dream alive? The chatter in the community center bubbled with enthusiasm, but beneath it lay an undercurrent of tension that Jack couldn't ignore. He could feel eyes on him, a mixture of hope and doubt simmering in the air. He moved through the groups, absorbing fragments of conversation. Ideas floated, visions danced, but beneath the surface was an unsettling anxiety that threatened to crack their momentum. "Okay, everyone." Jack finally called out, breaking through the individual discussions. "Let us come together. I know it's easy to feel overwhelmed, but the strength of this community is our willingness to face challenges as a team. Let us share what we've developed so far." One by one, groups reported back. The excitement was palpable as Jack listened to their plans: a family fun day, fundraisers, skills workshops. Each presentation sparked a fire of agreement and applause. But when it was the quieter group's turn, led by a soft-spoken woman named Lucy, silence fell uneasily upon them. Lucy cleared her throat and glanced at the floor, then back up at the crowd. We thought about doing an art program for kids," she began, her voice barely rising above a whisper. "But we're not sure where to start or if we can do it at all." Her eyes darted around, seeking support. Jack felt a tug at his heart. He stepped forward, leaning slightly against the table for a casual stance. "Lucy, that's a rallying idea. Art has a unique power to connect and inspire. Why not brainstorm together about resources or local artists who might help?" Her uncertainty softened, and the room echoed with murmurs of encouragement. Slowly, hands shot up as suggestions flew, each spark igniting Lucy's confidence. "What if we called up a few local art teachers? They might want to volunteer, and we could host a free class." Jack felt the weight shift. The anxiety in the room faded into a chorus of yes. "And great idea." He glanced at Karen, whose smile was encouraging. But that sneering rival caught his eye, still lurking at the back, arms crossed in skepticism. Jack felt a flicker of fire within. This was more than just a proposal now. It was a shared mission. A sudden clattering broke the moment, a chair scraping against the floor. It was a teenager, Eric, who hadn't spoken up until now. "What if we fail?" he blurted out, frustration etched on his face. "What if nobody cares? What's the point in trying?" The room shifted, the brightness dimming under his words. Jack's stomach twisted. No one wanted to hear those fears resonating so loudly. He took a deep breath, recalling the fears that had chased him here. "Eric, that's a fair concern," Jack replied, his voice steady. "But take a look around. What's happening here is real. You all show up. You care enough to share your ideas. That's where it begins. If we can spark even a little interest, isn't that worth it?" Others murmured their agreement, nodding. Jack's eyes sought Eric's. "We might stumble, but we learn from mistakes. Each effort we make can resonate with just one person, and that ripple can grow." Suddenly, the room buzzed again with excitement, a sense of purpose igniting them. Jack felt it, a collective heartbeat. Karen met his gaze, her eyes gleaming with pride. As the groups dived back into their discussions, Jack found a moment to breathe. He stepped outside for a quick break, the warm sun wrapping around him like a hug. But the doubts swirled in his mind. Had he convinced everyone? Would they really come together as he hoped? He took a deep breath, letting the air fill his lungs, steadying himself. Just then, he heard footsteps behind him. Turning, he saw Lucy approaching, her expression serious but determined. "Jack, can we talk?" she asked, her tone urgent. His heart quickened, an unexpected jolt of energy coursing through him. "Sure. What's on your mind?" She hesitated before speaking. "What if we can do more than just the art program? What if we create an art festival? A bigger event that brings everyone together?" Jack's heart raced at the thought, as hope and fear collided. An art festival could be a true turning point, but Could they pull it off? Lucy, that's an incredible idea. He breathed. Let us think big. Would they have enough time? Could they garner enough interest to pull it off? As excitement and ambition swirled around him, Jack wondered if they were really ready to scale those heights or if they were just setting themselves up for another possible failure. Would he be able to stir this community into deeper action, or would he falter under the weight of his own aspirations? Jack's mind raced with Lucy's idea. An art festival could bring the community together in ways he hadn't imagined. But the logistics, how to coordinate it all, made him dizzy. As optimism battled anxiety in his chest, he glanced over at Lucy. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of hope and determination, each glimmer echoing a quiet confidence that pulled him in. Let us start by making a list of what we'll need, he suggested, trying to ground both of them in reality. We'll want to think about food vendors, artists, maybe even local musicians. What do you think? Yes. Lucy nodded, excitement spilling over. And we can ask the kids from the art program to showcase their work there. It'll be like a launch party for them. Jack felt a jolt of joy. Yes. That'll give them a platform, and it'll encourage others to join. It's perfect. As they brainstormed, Jack felt energy building in the air, the kind that swells you up and carries you forward. It was contagious. They quickly jotted down ideas, narrowing their focus to key elements that could make the event a success. Okay, we'll need a venue, Jack said, nodding as Lucy scribbled on the notepad. What about the park? It's spacious and already a community hub. Great idea. And it'll attract families since it's a place they already know. I could see them bringing picnic supplies and making a day of it, Lucy chimed in, her voice growing louder with each passing moment, enthusiasm seeping into her words. Jack's face broke into a grin. The energy in the air, the urgency of the moment, it all felt electric. Suddenly, he felt weightless, as if the worries that had held him captive began to dissolve into an exhilarating exhilaration. But just when the conversation soared, uncertainty crept back in, darkening the horizon of his thoughts. Lucy, do you really think the community would support something this big? What if no one shows up? He asked, his earlier confidence wavering slightly. She paused, her brow furrowing as she considered his question. He could tell she was weighing each angle carefully. Finally, Lucy met his gaze, her expression earnest. To be honest, I think they will if we show them the value it brings. We have to believe that it's possible and convince them to believe along with us. Jack chewed on her words. He loved her determination. There was something in her voice that pushed him to keep dreaming, to keep fighting for a vision that was slowly taking shape. He could almost see it, the community together, laughter, music, and vibrant art breathing life into the park. Okay. Let us do it. We'll need volunteers to help, and maybe a committee. Baby steps, right? Jack proposed, his enthusiasm reigniting. Yes. And we can hold planning meetings each week leading up to the event. Lucy added, her smile broadening. As they moved back inside, rejoining the groups, Jack felt something shift. It was as if they had crossed a threshold into new possibilities. He was ready to rally the community, ready to face whatever came next. But the lingering presence of Eric's doubt gnawed at him. Would everyone share the same excitement, or would they churn back to cynicism when the challenges materialized? As Jack and Lucy began sharing their vision, outlining ideas for the festival, hopeful glances began to emerge. Murmurs of intrigue danced across the room. Could they actually pull this off? Near the back, the skepticism remained, grounded like a weight. Jack caught a glimpse of Eric's weary expression again, as if still wrestling with his fears. Just then, Karen stepped in beside them, excitement bubbling in her tone. This is the spark we need. We can invite local businesses for sponsorships. It will create partnerships. A mix of ideas poured out, and the energy surged once more. But Jack couldn't shake his unease. The vision was grand, yes, but also fragile. As the meeting began to wind down, Jack knew they were at the precipice of something extraordinary, but the question lingered like a shadow. What if this time, when they reached for greatness, they fell short? Would this festival unite them or simply expose deeper divides? As he looked around at his neighbors, he felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him. Was he ready for the responsibility of a thriving community or destined for another disappointment? Uncertainty loomed, but the momentum was building. What awaited them next, Jack wondered, as they left the center, the path ahead shimmering with new possibilities. What lay waiting beyond the horizon of their hope? Jack walked beside Lucy as they made their way to the park. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of autumn leaves that crunched beneath their feet. He felt a mix of exhilaration and anxiety, the two emotions winding around his heart like a tightrope. Did you notice how some people seemed more excited than others? Lucy mused, her tone thoughtful. I saw a few frowns when I mentioned the festival. Jack nodded. He felt that uncertainty ripple through the crowd too. Yeah, I saw Eric's face. He doesn't think it'll work, Jack replied, guilt gnawing at him. The idea of failing weighed heavily like a boulder on his chest, but Lucy's optimism was a soothing balm. We can't let a few doubts overshadow the excitement. Think about the potential. Her voice trailed off as she stared ahead, lost in her thoughts. He didn't want to be a downer, especially not now. The vision of the festival was planted in his mind, overflowing with colors, laughter, and joy. He pushed back the doubts. You're right. It's just the beginning. With some planning and enthusiasm, we can change those frowns into smiles. It's all about gathering folks together, showing them the magic of what's possible. A grin broke out on Lucy's face, lighting up her features. Exactly. And each small victory will pull them in. They stopped in front of an empty spot in the park, the sunlight casting long shadows across the grass. Jack could almost see at the tents, the blazing colors, families walking hand in hand, children sprinting toward the face painting stand. His heart raced faster. What if we schedule a small gathering this weekend? Just to gauge interest and get people talking. Lucy suggested, wide-eyed with enthusiasm. Yes. A sneak peek of what's to come, Jack replied. We can set up some ground art, maybe have a few of the kids come out and create something right there on the grass. Invite families, friends. It could be a kickoff. Lucy beamed, and Jack felt a pang of warmth. Their synergy was incredible, it was as if their spirits danced together. But the nagging voice of doubt crept back. What if it doesn't draw a crowd? What if it turns into a flop? Jack's shoulders slumped as he let the words spill out. We'd be taking a big risk. What if everyone just sees it as a failure? Or she interrupted, stepping closer, what if it turns into something amazing? Sometimes you have to take that leap of faith. You know, only the bold change the narrative. She was right. The festival represented more than just a gathering, it was a chance to inspire, to reignite passion in their community. He took a deep breath, allowing space for her faith to seep into his veins. Okay, let us do it. We'll gather people, talk about our vision and get feedback. Even if there are skeptics, they'll see the hope emerging, Jack declared confidently, the weight on his heart doing a little dance of relief. Exactly. And we'll promote it on social media. If people see excitement building, they're more likely to join. Lucy's enthusiasm was infectious, and Jack felt a new surge of optimism. As they planned their gathering, the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon in warm oranges and pinks. Jack's heart soared, but the skepticism still lurked, waiting for a chance to re-emerge. What if they failed? Arriving home later, Jack struggled to shake the doubt. The vision of unity began to blur amidst the shadows of fear. Just then, an unexpected text pinged his phone. It was from Karen. She had just spoken to a local business owner interested in helping sponsor their event. Jack felt elation and trepidation wash over him. Could this be the momentum they needed? With every step forward, every spark of hope they cultivated, the shadows loomed closer. Good intentions had to translate into real actions. As he looked outside, the night closed in, carrying the chilly whispers of uncertainty. Could they truly ignite the community's spirit? Jack sat down at his computer, fingers poised over the keys, contemplating the next move. And just then, the phone buzzed again, revealing a message from Eric, asking for a meeting to discuss his thoughts on the festival. Would this meeting bring unity or push them further apart? Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the most critical moment was about to unfold. Jack stared at his phone, the light from the screen illuminating the worry etched on his face. The message from Eric pulsed with a kind of urgency that sent ripples of anticipation through him. Eric had always been the skeptic, quick to voice his doubts, but Jack could sense a shift. Maybe there was more beneath the surface than just skepticism. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. Should he respond immediately? Should he play it cool? Doubts rolled through his mind like storm clouds. What if Eric shot them down? What if he shattered their fragile momentum with harsh criticism? Taking a deep breath, he tapped out a quick response, suggesting they meet the next day at the coffee shop on Main Street, a cozy spot that felt like home. Once sent, he leaned back in his chair, heart racing. Was he ready to face Eric's challenging questions head-on? The next morning, Jack arrived early, the familiar smell of coffee wafting through the air, mingling with the warm chatter of customers. He found a secluded table in the corner, a perfect spot for serious discussions. As he watched the barista steam milk, he felt a surge of determination. They needed to talk. He needed to convince Eric. Minutes ticked by slowly, each one filled with growing anxiety. What would Eric say? Would he agree to support their gathering? Anxiously stirring his coffee, Jack combated thoughts of doubt. The table was set for two, he could almost see the festival blooming in his mind, a canvas of laughter, faces painted in bright colors, mingling voices blending together in a tapestry of community spirit. But he knew that dream relied heavily on this very meeting turning out well. When Eric finally strode in, he was immediately enveloped in an aura of confidence, though the slight furrow of his brow suggested skepticism still loomed. He joined Jack at the table, a steaming cup in his hand. "Thanks for meeting with me," Eric said, his voice steady but lacking warmth. Jack nodded, feeling both nervous and hopeful. "I really appreciate it. I wanted to discuss the festival and how it could potentially benefit everyone in the community." Eric leaned back, sizing Jack up with a critical gaze. "Look, Jack. I get where you're coming from, but have you thought about why some are hesitant? People don't want to invest in something that's bound to flop, especially after everything that's been tried before." Jack felt a wave of frustration. "But that's just it. It's not merely about the festival, it's about what it represents. This could be a chance for so many people to come together to feel inspired again." A flicker of interest crossed Eric's face, though he quickly masked it. "Inspiration doesn't always translate to actual participation, though," he challenged. Jack leaned forward, the passion flowing through him. "But what if we make it something special? Something that speaks to everyone? A space for kids to explore, for families to bond. We already have support from local businesses. This isn't just a dream, Eric, this is tangible." There was a moment of silence, where Eric's defenses seemed to soften. "Okay, so let us say you pull this off. What's your backup plan if it doesn't bring the people in? If it's just you and a handful of friends staring at an empty park?" Jack opened his mouth, searching for the right words. "Then we learn. We adjust. We listen to the community. We don't back down just because some doubt it." That seemed to resonate more with Eric than Jack initially expected. Jack had opened a door, and for the first time, he felt Eric might consider stepping through it. As their conversation flowed, Jack felt hope spark once more, igniting the energy around them. He could see the potential within Eric. Perhaps he wasn't as set against the idea as he thought. This meeting might turn out to be the turning point. After what felt like hours, as they wrapped up, Eric's expression was less guarded. "I'll think about it, Jack. Maybe we can brainstorm some ideas for engagement, ways to draw people in." Relief washed over Jack. "That's all I ask," he replied sincerely. As he walked home, the day felt brighter. Maybe they really could change things. As he rounded a corner, his phone buzzed again. It was another potential sponsor, eager to offer support. Was this his moment? The thought filled him with tension and thrill. With every push forward, was he building something that could truly unite their community, or was he just setting himself up for a bigger fall? And just like that, a new message appeared, this time from Lucy. "Jack, we need to talk. Call me ASAP." His heart dropped. What was it now? Jack stood frozen for a moment, the message from Lucy hanging in the air like a storm cloud. What could possibly be so urgent? He took a deep breath and dialed her number, his mind racing. "Jack, thank God you called," Lucy exclaimed as soon as he answered. Her voice was tinted with a mix of urgency and anxiety, the kind that made Jack's stomach twist. "What is going on?" he asked, trying to keep his own voice steady. "It's about the festival. I've heard some unsettling rumors. Look, I know you're excited, and I'm rooting for you, but we need to talk seriously." Jack's heart sank. "What kind of rumors?" "Some folks think it might just stir up more division instead of bringing us together. You know, with everything happening, there are different opinions about what the community needs right now." Jack felt a lump form in his throat. "But that's the whole point. This festival is meant to heal, to connect us. It's supposed to be a chance for everyone to gather, to enjoy and show that we care for each other, despite our differences." "I get that, but people are hesitant. They're worried it'll just be more noise instead of a solution." Jack rubbed his forehead, frustration bubbling up. "But we can't let fear win, Lucy. If we start letting doubts control us, we'll never take a step forward. This has to be about hope." "It's not just about hope, Jack," she said, her voice suddenly sharper. "It's about what people are feeling right now. They're tired, they don't want another failed event. You need to show them it's worth their time." Silence hung in the air. Jack could feel the weight of the conversation pressing down on him. "I'll figure it out," he finally said, determination flooding his voice. "Be careful, Jack. You're really passionate, but sometimes, that passion can blind you," she warned. He nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "I appreciate you looking out for me, Lucy," he said softly. "Let us find a way to make this festival something people want and need." After ending the call, Jack slipped his phone into his pocket, his mind spinning. He began to consider Lucy's words and what it meant to stay true to his vision while also being realistic. Maybe he had been too focused on the ideal atmosphere he envisioned without fully grasping the community's pulse. As the sun started to dip, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink, Jack decided he needed to connect with the people. He grabbed his notebook, filled with ideas and sketches of the festival layout, and headed towards the park where they planned to host the event. Once there, he could almost hear the laughter already, the music filling the air, but he also knew he needed feedback. He started to envision a community brainstorming session instead of another top-down meeting. Something that could draw opinions and ideas. The park was empty when he arrived, but the vibrant energy of the possibilities surrounded him like a hug. As he walked around, Jack imagined tables set up with crafts for kids, food trucks lining the path, and even a stage for local artists to shine. His thoughts drifted toward how to pull in everyone's voices, not just his own. Maybe if Eric and Lucy were on board, they could present a united front that calmed worries and fueled excitement. Just then, a small group of children darted past him, laughing as they played tag. The sight pulled at his heartstrings. Could this festival really provide a safe space for them to connect? He believed it with all his heart. Suddenly, his phone buzzed again, interrupting his thoughts. He glanced down to see a notification from a community board about what was supposedly happening in their area. He opened it, only to find a post questioning his plans for the festival, dismissively calling it just another distraction. Jack's heart raced. Could this day get any harder? He realized it was now or never. If he truly believed in this festival, he had to step up, to confront the fears swirling around him. What if they rallied together, turning doubts into discussion? With resolve building within him, Jack decided it was time to find his voice not just for himself, but for the whole community. He would gather support, hold open forums, and let everyone feel heard. But then he wondered, was he ready to face the pushback? The answers lay ahead, but would his determination be enough to unite them? The challenge was clear, and he wouldn't back down. Before he could ponder any further, another message came through, this time from Eric, saying, "I have some ideas I'd like to run by you. Can we meet tomorrow?" A thrill of hope ignited within him, but Jack knew this was just the beginning of a much larger battle. He didn't just want to unite, he wanted to inspire. Was he truly ready to embrace whatever was coming next? Jack stood at the edge of the park, the weight of uncertainty still heavy on his shoulders. But with every whispered doubt, another seed of hope took root within him. A voice rang out, and he turned to see Tommy and Timmy racing towards him, all smiles and wide eyes. Their laughter seemed to dissolve his anxieties, allowing the warmth in his heart to swell. "Mr. Mitchell. Did you hear about the festival?" Timmy shouted, bouncing on his toes. "I'm working on it," Jack replied, kneeling to meet their eager gazes. "And it's going to be amazing. Are you too excited?" They nodded enthusiastically. Their dreams of a space where they could play and create felt like they were inching closer to reality, and that vibrant energy snapped Jack back into focus. As the week unfolded, he spent countless hours crafting his vision. Jack knew he needed Eric and Lucy's support, but he also began to see the broader community needed their input. The jitters of doubt still echoed within him, but they were now accompanied by determination. He called for an informal gathering, the park where they hoped to host the festival as their backdrop. "Let us invite everyone," he declared to Lucy and Eric. "If they feel included, they might see the potential in what we can create." Jack's heart pounded as news spread. What if no one showed? Yet, he pushed the fear down, grasping that his journey transcended just his hopes. He wanted to be a unifier, to create something that brought together not only the children but the whole community. On the day of the gathering, the sun hung high, casting a golden hue over the park. Families trickled in, hesitant at first, but as they caught wind of Jack's excitement, curiosity bloomed. "Welcome, everyone." Jack beamed as he shared the vision, pointing towards where the tents would go and where laughter would fill the air. "This festival isn't just for us, it's for the entire community to connect, to heal. We can make this happen together." As he spoke, he could see heads nodding, murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. The energy pulsing between them felt electric. Eric pitched in, voicing his thoughts on the festival's impact, while Lucy followed suit, encouraging others to share their ideas. One small child hesitantly raised their hand, asking, "Can there be face painting?" Giggling erupted from the crowd, and Jack felt a wave of warmth spread. They were beginning to share not just ideas but laughter and dreams. "Absolutely. And we can make a space for every kid to participate," Jack replied, his voice radiating with joy. One idea sparked another, and soon whispers of workshops, local cuisine, and even a talent show filled the air. With every moment, Jack realized he wasn't just building an event, they were forging connections. Like threads weaving through fabric, each new suggestion wove the community tighter together. But as excitement soared, a shadow approached. It was an influential neighbor whose disdain for Jack's plans was palpable. "Why are we wasting our time on this?" the neighbor scoffed. "You really think those kids will change anything?" The air thickened with tension. Jack's heart raced, doubts flared again. But then, recalling Tommy and Timmy's hopeful faces, he steadied himself, a calm steadiness in his gaze. "This isn't just about the kids," Jack countered, voice firm yet inviting. "It's about us. It's an opportunity to show that our community cares. To look beyond what we think we know." A hush fell over the crowd, and for a moment, the vision hung delicately in the air. Then, against the stillness, one voice weaved through: "We were always stronger together." It was Karen, her words ringing like a warm bell in the chilly air. Around them, murmurs of agreement rippled. Jack felt a swell of hope wash over him. They were ready for this. They yearned for change, just as he did. By the end of the gathering, when they shared a collective goal and began organizing committees, Jack couldn't help but bask in the thrill of unity. Before they parted, he stood, heart wide open. "Thank you all for believing. I promise we'll make this festival unforgettable." As the sun dipped down, casting a golden glow, Jack felt lighter. They weren't just organizing a festival, they were reclaiming their community spirit. Weeks passed, and as festival day approached, excitement buzzed through the neighborhood. Jack felt alive. Together, they created something real, a patch of joy in their worn but beautiful community. When the festival day finally arrived, Jack stood at the entrance as families flooded in. Laughter filled the park, children's giggles, creating a symphony of joy against the backdrop of colorful tents and delicious food. Tommy and Timmy rushed up, pulling him forward to the stage. "Look at all the people!" Tommy shouted, wide-eyed. Jack's heart swelled, a mix of relief and joy cascading within him. He watched as families began to mingle, share stories, and really connect. Moments of artistry blossomed around him, the festival turned into a heartwarming tapestry of unity. As the sun set, casting colors across the sky, Jack felt at peace. In that moment, he knew they had built something truly beautiful, an unbreakable sense of community that would inspire hope for the future. Although the journey had its struggles, he emerged transformed, embracing love in its purest form. Jack had come full circle, understanding that true wealth was not measured in dollars, but in the connections he had nurtured and the lives he had touched. As the celebrations thrived around him, he felt an overwhelming desire to embrace the possibilities ahead. No, he wasn't just Jack Mitchell, the arrogant billionaire anymore. He was a proud member of this community, fighting for every dream to shine. And in the warmth of that success, he turned to the camera, the thought bubbling up inside him. Don't wait not even one more second to share in this joy. Subscribe now so you never miss our journey ahead. Leave a like to fuel this momentum. Comment your reactions and feelings about all we created today. Let us celebrate this triumph together. And share instantly this story with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of transformation. This is the moment to show your support. His pulse raced with exhilaration, knowing that in unity lay the extraordinary. Each and every person mattered in this vibrant community, from abandoned twins to the wealthiest. Together, they could change lives.